The photographs had yellowed at the edges, curling inward like dying leaves. I held one up to the fading afternoon light. Two boys, maybe 9 years old, standing at the mouth of a cave. One of them was me. The other was Harry. That was 15 years ago now. Before marriages, before children, before we learned that some places in your childhood should stay buried in memory, never revisited. But Harry had insisted. "Come on, man," he had said over the phone, his voice carrying that same reckless enthusiasm I remembered from when we were kids. When is the last time we did something that actually mattered? When is the last time we felt alive? I should have recognized the desperation underneath, should have heard what he was not saying, that his job was crushing him, that he barely recognized himself in the mirror anymore, that he needed to remember who he used to be before life ground him down into something practical and tired. So I said yes, and we planned the trip to Makoakita Caves. The drive took us through Iowa flatlands that seemed to stretch into eternity. Endless fields of corn stubble and harvested soybeans under a sky that could not decide between autumn and winter. The air had that peculiar late September quality, still warm in the sunlight, but with a cold edge lurking just beneath, waiting for the sun to drop. "Remember when we got lost in the eastern tunnels?" Harry asked, grinning as he drove. "Your mom was so pissed she did not let you come back for a whole summer. Because you told her we saw a bear," I reminded him. "There was a bear. It was a raccoon." We laughed, and for a moment, it felt like no time had passed at all. Like we were still those kids who believed they were invincible, who thought darkness was just the absence of light and nothing more. Makoakita State Park appeared gradually, the flat farmland giving way to rolling hills, then to the limestone bluffs that made the area famous. The caves here were a geological wonder, more interconnected caverns than anywhere else in Iowa. Some mapped, many not. Tunnels that went deeper than anyone had fully explored. Passageways that connected in ways that did not always make sense. The western side was crawling with tourists, even this late in the season. Families with kids, retirees in sensible shoes, all following rangers along wooden walkways while listening to educational speeches about stalactites and stalagmites, about how water and time could carve cathedrals out of solid rock. But we were not here for the tourist caves. We had brought our families, my wife Sarah and our two kids, Emma and Jack, Hal's wife Monica and their twins, Lily and Sam. The plan was simple. Set up camp on the quieter eastern side, near the smaller, undeveloped caves. Let the kids explore a little. Roast marshmallows. Pretend for a weekend that life was still as simple as it had been when Hal and I were young. The campsite we chose sat in a clearing, ringed by oak trees just starting to turn. Reds and golds caught the afternoon light. Beautiful in that melancholy way autumn always is, gorgeous and dying at the same time. The cave entrances dotted the hillside like empty eye sockets, dark mouths in the limestone that seemed to watch us as we unpacked. "Perfect spot," Harry declared, spreading his arms wide. "Just like old times." But it was not like old times. There was something off about the place, though I could not articulate what. Maybe it was just how quiet everything felt once we stopped moving, stopped talking. The kind of silence that makes you aware of your own heartbeat, your own breathing. The kids did not notice. They were too excited, running between the tents, arguing over who got which sleeping bag, begging to go exploring immediately. "After we set up," Sarah said firmly, "and after lunch." Monica had packed an elaborate picnic spread, sandwiches and pasta salad, and those little cookies shaped like pumpkins. We ate at the weathered picnic table, and I tried to ignore the way the cave mouths seemed closer than they had been when we had arrived. Closer and darker. "You okay?" Sarah asked me quietly. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired from the drive." After lunch, we took the kids on a walk around the immediate area. Basic safety stuff. Do not wander off alone. Make noise so you do not startle wildlife. Stay together. The kids nodded impatiently, eager to be released. "Can we go look at that cave?" Emma asked, pointing to a particularly large opening about 100 yards from our camp. "Just the entrance. We will not go inside." Hal and I exchanged glances. We had checked it out that morning while the wives were unpacking. It had a wide mouth, maybe 15 feet across, that narrowed into a tunnel, disappearing into darkness. Nothing dangerous about the entrance itself. "Stay where we can see you," I said. "And I mean it. Entrance only." They took off running, and we adults settled around the unlit campfire, enjoying those rare moments of peace that parents of young children learn to treasure. That was when we heard the scream. It cut through the peaceful afternoon like a blade. High-pitched, terrified, unmistakably one of the girls. All four of us were on our feet instantly. Sarah's hand gripping my arm so hard, her nails drew blood. Then we were running. The trees blurred past as we crashed through the underbrush, branches whipping at our faces. My heart hammered so hard, I could feel it in my throat, in my temples. Every parent's nightmare was unfolding in real time. Something is wrong. Something has happened. Your children are in danger. We found them running toward us, tears streaming down faces, pale with terror. Emma crashed into my arms, sobbing. Behind her, the other kids were crying or frozen in shock, their eyes wide and glassy. "What happened?" Monica demanded, pulling Lily close. "What happened?" "There was a man," Jack said, his voice shaking. "He came out of the cave." The words did not make sense at first. A man? Out here? At our isolated campsite? Emerging from a cave like some creature crawling from its den? "He asked if we wanted a tour," Sam whispered. "He said he knew you. He said you sent him to watch us." My blood turned to ice water. "And when we said no," Emma continued, her face buried against my chest, "he started following us. He chased us." Harry was already moving, his jaw set in that way I remembered from high school, when he was about to do something stupid and brave. Which cave? Where? The kids pointed, and Harry took off at a sprint. Harry, wait! I shouted, but he was already disappearing between the trees. I turned to Sarah. Get them back to camp. Lock yourselves in the car if you have to. Call 911. Then, I ran after my friend. Harry had always been faster than me. Track team in high school, and that natural athlete's grace I had never possessed. By the time I caught up, he was already at the cave mouth, staring into that yawning darkness. I see him, Harry shouted. He's going deeper, do not. But he was already moving, his phone flashlight cutting a weak beam through the dark as he disappeared into the cave. I stood at the entrance, breathing hard, every instinct screaming at me not to follow. Caves were dangerous. We did not know these tunnels. We had no equipment, no backup. But Harry was in there, my best friend since childhood, chasing a predator who had tried to take our children. Harry! I called into the darkness. Come back! We've got him cornered! No response. Just the sound of footsteps echoing, strangely, off stone walls, growing fainter. I was about to go in after him when I saw movement in the darkness. Harry stumbled out of the cave mouth, his face drained of color, his hands shaking. What happened? I grabbed his shoulders. Did you see him? Did you get a look? Harry walked past me without answering, his eyes unfocused, looking through me rather than at me. He made it 3 steps before he stopped, put both hands on top of his head in that universal gesture of someone trying to process something impossible. Harry, talk to me. When he finally looked at me, there was something in his eyes I had never seen before. Not fear exactly, but something deeper. Something that had fundamentally shaken him. I had him, Harry said, his voice barely above a whisper. I caught up to him in one of the side tunnels. I grabbed his arm. And he turned around. He hissed at me, like an animal, like something that used to be human, but is not anymore. Harry's hands were still shaking. His fingernails, Jesus, they were so long, yellow, like claws, and his teeth. What about his teeth? They were black, rotten. I do not know how they were still in his head. Harry's voice cracked. He smelled like something dead, something that had been rotting in those tunnels for years. And his eyes, there was nothing human in them. Nothing. The ranger arrived 40 minutes later, a woman in her 50s, with the weathered look of someone who had spent her life outdoors. She listened to our story with professional calm, taking notes, asking clarifying questions. Did he threaten them directly? She asked. He chased our children, Monica said, her voice tight with barely controlled fury. The ranger nodded. I understand this is frightening, but searching the cave system would be difficult. There are dozens of entrances spread across miles. If someone knows these tunnels, they could be anywhere by now. So you are not going to do anything? I could not keep the anger out of my voice. I am saying the chances of finding someone in that labyrinth are very low. She softened slightly, but I will put out an alert. We will have extra rangers patrolling. If we see anyone matching the description, we will bring them in immediately, and you will be notified. It was not enough. nothing would be enough except getting our hands on the thing that had terrified our children. But what could we do? Two middle-aged dads against a cave system that stretched for miles underground? The kids refused to stay another night. Hell, so did the wives. We were packed and loaded within an hour, eager to put distance between ourselves and those dark cave mouths. But as we drove away, I kept looking back at the hillside, at those openings in the limestone, and I could not shake the feeling that something was watching us leave. Something that lived in the spaces between the earth and the light. Something that had chosen those tunnels as its home. Something that had almost taken one of our children into the dark. The weeks that followed were hard on all of us. The kids had nightmares. Emma would not sleep without the light on. Jack started having panic attacks in enclosed spaces. But Harry took it the worst. He became obsessed, started researching every incident in Makoakita's history, looking for patterns, for other encounters. He would call me at odd hours with theories. Maybe it was a homeless person. Maybe someone mentally ill. Maybe something worse. There are stories, he told me one night. His voice, hoarse from lack of sleep. Going back decades, people seeing figures near the caves, hearing sounds from the tunnels that do not make sense. Kids going missing. Harry, you need to let this go. I had him, Harry said, and I could hear something breaking in his voice. I had him right there, and I let him go. I got scared. I let a monster walk away because I was too scared of how he looked. You did what any sane person would do when confronted with something like that. But Harry was not listening. What if he does it again? What if next time he gets one of them? Some other kid, some other family, and it will be my fault because I let him go. I did not know what to say to that. Did not know how to reach my friend through the guilt and obsession that had taken root in him. The ranger called a week later to tell us they had found nothing. No sign of anyone living in the caves. No evidence of the man we had described. She suggested, gently, that perhaps in the chaos and fear, details had gotten confused. But we knew what we had seen, what Harry had seen up close enough to smell the rot and see the madness in those eyes. Some things you cannot unsee. Some encounters leave marks that never fade. And somewhere in the darkness, beneath Makoakita, in those endless tunnels that wind through the earth like veins through a body, something still lives. Something that watches the surface world from below, that waits for the next curious child to wander too close to the cave mouth. Something that Harry still sees in his dreams, turning toward him in that dark tunnel, opening a mouth full of black teeth, hissing like the thing it has become. Last week, I got a call from the Park Service. They had finally closed off several of the eastern caves. Structural instability, they said. Too dangerous for public access. But the ranger I spoke to, after the official statement, lowered her voice. Between you and me, she said, we found something in one of the sealed tunnels. A living space, I guess you would call it. Someone had been down there. For a long time, from the looks of it. My mouth went dry. Did you find whoever it was? No. But we found children's shoes. 8 pairs, all different sizes. The line went quiet. Thank you for calling, I finally managed. I thought you should know, she said, that you were not crazy, that something was down there. After I hung up, I just sat there in the dark, thinking about all those shoes. Thinking about how close Emma had been to disappearing into those tunnels. Thinking about how many did not get away. Hal was right to be obsessed, right to lose sleep, because somewhere in the dark beneath Iowa, in tunnels that go deeper than anyone has mapped, something inhuman makes its home, and it is still hungry. The Makoakita Caves system remains partially open to tourists, though several eastern sections are permanently sealed. Local authorities declined to comment on the contents of the closed tunnels. The 8 pairs of children's shoes have never been matched to any missing persons reports. Harry does not talk about that day anymore. But sometimes, late at night, I will get a text from him. Just 3 words. I had him. And I know he is standing in front of his bathroom mirror, staring at his own reflection, trying to see past the suburban dad to find the person who could have stopped a monster. Trying to live with the fact that he let one walk away.